Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Building Resilience. Love, learn, and lead or let go. I'm Nagam Alsmari, and I am glad to be back after almost a week of being down with a virus. And please excuse my voice because it may be different sounding today, and you may get the occasional cough here and there throughout today's program. But I am really happy that I am back and am able to go ahead and do this live with you. And we're talking today about stress, from stress to strength. That's our topic. So, stress affects us all in all different shapes and forms and kinds. But instead of letting stress overwhelm us, we'll explore different ways how we can transform it instead into resilience. How to go from stress to strength. What is one thing that is stressing you? I know there may be a lot of things that maybe are on your mind that may make you feel overwhelmed. But I want you to think about one thing. Let's just, put um all of these other things aside, excuse me. And think about one item that is, a source of stress for you. What is it? What is that one item that is stressing you the most? And how do you usually handle it? I want you to drop your thoughts in the chat and share with everyone. How do you usually handle the stress and has it worked for you? It's really great to share because of two things. One, a lot of people go through things on their own and think that they're maybe the only ones dealing with that type of thing. But when they see that, I'm looking at my scarf and it's not actually. I feel like something is wrong with it. That's why I keep fixing. Um, and they feel that they're the only ones going through this, and maybe they don't have a way of solving that issue. But when they see others are going through the same thing and having the same issues and the same problems, it actually lessens the effect of the stress that they're feeling. So this is why I always ask, share. You have a source of stress, share it out. The other way, the other thing, um, reason why I ask people to share is sometimes you've gone through something, you have given a try, and it worked for you. The good thing out of this is when you share what has worked with you, is that people maybe are at this point where they're willing to try different solutions to see if that works for them. So, when we share with each other, we create this collaborative environment where we are seeking solutions from each other, from one another. We create this kind of community where we help each other out. And really, that is the reason why I ask for you to share what is stressing you out and what did you try and how, did it work. Now, if it didn't work, that does not mean by any means that is not going to work for anyone else. And the reason for this is you have your own set of circumstances. You live your life in a certain way. You have a certain type of environment. That does not mean everyone has the same exact circumstances, environment, and different kind of lifestyle, right? Everybody has their own completely different way of life. And so if something does not work for you, it doesn't mean that it's not working for other people. Therefore, by collaborating on solutions, and if they worked or if they didn't work, for which kind of problem, really you're giving different ideas for people to try. What didn't work for you maybe will work for someone else. And maybe the opposite is true. I don't know. But it is really great to create this collaborative community where we help each other out. And this is the whole purpose why I started these episodes, is to serve as a way to come together and help each other out. Build the resilience, train the resilience muscle that we have in us, and be able to come back from situations stronger and being able to face what's ahead. So, what is one stressor? How what kind of solutions did you try and did it work? All right. So, let's talk about what is stress. Stress is a signal. It's your body's natural response to challenges that you're facing. What the signal is saying is you need to act. It's a signal for you to take action. That's what stress is. It's meant to get us ready to take action. However, when stress becomes really overwhelming and it's a constant thing in your life, it can leave us feeling stuck or burnt out. And we'll come back and talk about different ways we can work on this. So why does resilience matter in managing stress? Resilience does not mean you're eliminating the stress. Keep that in mind. What it means is you're learning how to respond to it in ways that strengthen you rather than deplete you. So, what we're going to do is we're going to break this down using the love, learn, and lead or let go framework. Okay. First of all, let's talk about what happens to us when we're feeling stressed out. Usually, we go through different challenges in our day. I mean, they could range from, small challenges to really large issues to where, you lost someone you love, you have this situation that, maybe a big financial burden that is stressing you out. So it could range from, really small situations to really large. And um when we have a lot of different challenges in our life, and it stresses us out, and stress becomes a constant to where we feel the burden, we feel the heavy shoulders um of the stress in our life. It becomes um paralyzing. Sometimes it's hard to think of a way through or out of that situation or the set of situations that we're experiencing that are leaving us feeling like that. And the number one thing that we neglect in those situations is caring for ourselves, losing um, that self compassion. We usually go to, why can't I figure this out? What am I lacking that I need to go through this? And there's a lot of self hate or self blame, or a lot of this. We do this all the time, that we point the finger to the first person we see, and it's us. We pinpoint our inabilities to solve our situations and get out of the stress. And you know what happens when we do that? Stress gets even more overwhelming. It doesn't get better. We do not experience relief, right? What we need to do is to have some self compassion. We're going through a lot, people. We need to treat ourselves with some kindness. We do this for our friends when they're going through things, so why don't we do it to ourselves? We need to practice self compassion so that we can avoid burnout and build resilience along the way. So, what do we do? First, pause. Notice how you're feeling without judgment. How are you feeling? I'm going to point the question to you right now. Think, when you are stressed out, How are you feeling? Now label that stress. Label that feeling. Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling burnt out? Are you tired? Are you exhausted? Are you having a foggy brain? And there's so many different kinds of emotions and feelings that you're going through. I want you to label them for what they are, and then figure it out. Figure out next why you're feeling this way, one at a time. By labeling them, you're helping identify what they are and reducing that power over you that you're feeling. The next thing I would say is take time to recharge for yourself. Whether it's a walk or reading or just a moment of just quiet for yourself. The one thing that I always advise people to do, and I do it all the time for myself. If I'm having a rough time with solving a problem, and I have gone through and tried a lot of different things and maybe went through the paperwork or read over something, and maybe even I go to do some search online to find solutions, and I can't, and I feel stuck. This is what I do. This is what I practice. I let it go. I leave it completely alone, and I leave. I get out of that room, of that building. I take a walk. I don't think about it. And it's so hard to do because all your brain is doing is, because when you have a problem, all your brain is doing is thinking about that and trying to find a solution, but you have to do it. You must. Get yourself out and away from that situation mentally and physically. Take at least 10 minutes away and then come back. What you will find is a different way of thinking. You'll have your body will re-energize and your brain will re-energize, and you'll start thinking in a different way about this. The other thing you could do is bring somebody else in. Talk it out. Most of the time what we do is we actually go through the problems in our head silently. We do not say one word. We just think about it. We think it through. When you bring somebody else into the mix, you're talking it out. You're actually going to hear yourself. And it's going to be a huge difference when you hear the words out loud. So that's something else you could do. And then practice positive self talk. Stress gets really loud up here. The negativity gets really tangled up here, and that's all we hear. Instead, replace the self criticism with self affirmation. Instead of I'm failing or I can't find it or I don't know, say I'm going to do the best, or I'm doing the best, or I'm working on it, or I haven't found the solution yet. Okay? That helps you think better. Positivity brings energy to your body and to your mental health, and you'll start thinking much better. What's one way you have tried to help you practice self-compassion? Um, and what are you gonna try? If you haven't, what is one thing that you're gonna try next? All right. Now I want you to what we're gonna do is we're going to identify stress triggers and some coping strategies to help you with that. Okay. Um, Stress often feels like it's coming from everywhere you turn. What we have to do is to try to identify what are the specific triggers um that are giving you stress, because what this does is it gives you clarity. Is it a work deadline? Is it a relationship you're having with somebody? Is it the feeling of uncertainty? Whatever it is, once you pinpoint the source, now you can start to take action. If you're just moving around, you're doing things to try to solve every situation all at once, it's really unclear what you're trying to do. So be intentional about that. One Other strategy that I use is deep breathing. And I did a 90-second boost about the 4-4-6 method where you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, and then you exhale for six and you repeat. When you do this, you're not really focusing on anything else. It's really hard to focus on anything else when you're focusing on the breathing and the counting. Um, what happens is that you force your body and your mind to take a breath, to take a break. I was gonna say you take a break and you focus on this, and then you come back. If you really cannot leave, then I would do that. Break it down is something else I would do. And again, focus on one trigger, one stress trigger at a time. You cannot go about solving the whole all problems all at once. You have to be strategic. After you figure out what stress triggers are that are making you feel the way you do, then take one and then break it down into smaller manageable steps. Start with one step at a time. That'll help you to reduce stress. I want you to think about this for a second. What is one thing right now that's stressing you out that you can actually break into smaller, manageable steps? Take a drink of water while you do. The other tip is also related to what I had mentioned earlier of moving away, stepping away, is physical movement. So, exercise is one thing that is good for your body. Obviously, it helps you relieve stress, but um, it doesn't have to be rigorous exercise, maybe that you're used to. Just a 10-minute walk could help. The physical active action of you moving your body up and away from a situation makes a huge difference. I want you to give it a try. Okay. Next time you're in a situation, in a stressful situation, I mean, it could be with not maybe just yourself, but let's say you're in a middle of conversation in a group or you're all working on something and you can't find a solution, get up and move away. All of you, give it a try and then come back to it. You'll find that you feel differently about the situation that you're in. And not just you, pretty much everybody in the group. But you have to know what you're doing. If you are if you're thinking this is useless, I'm gonna get up and move away, but I'm gonna continue thinking about this problem. You're really not doing yourself any favors. You're not helping yourself out. You are stressing yourself even more by continuing to think because your body needs a break and your mind also needs a break. If you're constantly running it, I mean, think about your car. If you constantly run your engine and with nonstop, it's gonna eventually run out. It's gonna have problems. It's the same with your mind. You need some breaks. So when I say physically move and leave the situation and go away, I also want you to mentally move away. I want you to stop, take it away, don't think about it. And let's say you do this and you tell me, you know what? But how can I stop thinking about it? There's no way I can physically force my body to move, get up and go away. But how can I physically or mentally force my brain to stop thinking? There is what you do, distraction. I mean, we do this all the time. Let's say you're trying to read a book and somebody comes and says something to you about totally different thing. You get distracted from reading your book. You have to come back, and what do you need to do? You're gonna have to find your lines again, right? Watching TV and somebody comes and talks to you, or you see something outside the window and you hear a noise outside and it distracts you, right? Distractions do this all the time. So let's use the same mechanism. Distract your brain from thinking about this problem by looking at something else, listening to something else, reading something else, right? Thinking about something else essentially. So that's how you get away physically and mentally from that. What is one coping strategy that has worked for you to relieve um, the stress you're feeling? Share your ideas. Again, let's create that community of collaboration. Um, the one thing that I've talked about before is self leadership, and it starts when you are working on yourself as a leader. Stressful situations often call for strong leadership, decisiveness, and sometimes that means leading yourself. It's about staying calm, clear, and intentional in how you respond. So, how do you do that? How do you keep calm and intentional? Well, by practice, just like you do anything else. How did you learn to read? It didn't happen overnight. You practiced. It started from small step, learning the alphabet, and then putting the alphabet together, and then learning the CVCs, the consonants and vowels, and putting those together, making smaller words into, then larger words and into sentences and became paragraphs. And that's how it happens, right? So the same thing goes for anything else. It works with practice. One of the things that you have to do to self lead is to set your priorities. When everything feels like a priority, you are paralyzing yourself. You're not going to be able to be productive or do anything with importance. You have to decide what is urgent, what is important, and that becomes your priority, nothing else. Second, to self lead is to stay present. Stress thrives on what ifs. I during my teaching days, I used to tell my students, they always ask me, "What if this happens?" or "What if that?" And I used to always tell them, "I don't know the answer to what if questions because we haven't lived them yet. We haven't gone through them yet. Let's focus on what we can do right now." So ground yourself in the right now because you can always control or you can always deal with what you can control. And whatever is outside of your circle of control, it's just outside of your circle of control. You can't do anything about it. So stay away from what ifs. Don't even ask them. Remind yourself, I have handled challenges before and I can handle this one too. I just need to learn how, right? Start by breaking it down and looking at the mechanics of the problem. And that is called positive accountability. What you're doing is you're leading yourself um, through believing that you have the ability to figure out. The answer is out there. I just need to find it. There are always answers. I just need to find where they are and learn them and use them. That's it. What have you led yourself through? Share a story that you have gone through that might inspire others um, to actually do the same thing. All right. Letting go. That's a powerful one, right? We talked about this one in one of the episodes. You have to release the need to control everything because you have no control over everything and accept that, right? If we learn that something is out of control, it's okay. Let's focus on what's in our control. We cannot control everything. We are just adding more pressure to ourselves when we are constantly trying to control every situation. Ask yourself, what is within my control right now? What can I actually do right now that is going to make a difference? Small or large, doesn't matter. And direct your energy in that direction. That is going to relieve your stress 100%. I guarantee it. And don't focus on making things perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. Even whatever you think is perfect is going to someday be imperfect and it's going to need more updates. So there's no such thing as perfection. Let go of that idea. Progress is what you need. It's so much better than perfection. And trust the process. I had a college professor, can't say that. I had a college professor that used to remind us um, we need to trust the process. We had some really difficult days in the classes in the residency classes that we used to take, and I uh she always used to say, trust the process. If you have doubts, these small doubts are going to grow larger and larger and larger and going to affect how you're thinking. So sometimes we need to trust that things will work out. Even if we don't see the whole picture and even if we don't see the light out at the end of the tunnel, we have to trust the process. What is one thing that you have let go of that reduced your stress? Today, we explored how to go from feeling stressed to feeling strengthened and empowered using the love, learn, and lead or let go from framework. We talked about practicing self compassion, identifying the stress triggers, and leading ourselves through the tough moments and letting go of what we cannot control. What is your biggest takeaway from today's session? How will you use these ideas to handle stress in your life? Maybe you can't use all of the ideas and tips and strategies that I've shared, but focus on one. Take one, use it. Now, one thing I always tell people I work with is that when you try out a strategy for the first time, you can't try it out for once or maybe a couple of days and then say, oh, it did not work. It actually doesn't work this way. You have to try out the strategy for at least 2 or 3 weeks. You have to give something time to work before you can say, it doesn't work for me. Then try something else. Don't stress over it. If something doesn't work for you after a lengthy period of time, I mean, ideally, I would say a month at least. Um, the reason for this is because in your lifetime, you go through so much and so many unpredictabilities in your life that you can't really control that may affect if something works or doesn't. And the other thing is, how consistent are you in using these things? If you're not consistent, really can't say that you've tried it and it didn't work. So you have to take these two things into consideration. And if, let's say, a month goes by, month and a half, and you've tried something and you're using it with consistency and it's not working for you, then let it go. Let's just try something else. Don't stress over that. It just doesn't work. We are built differently, we think differently, and there is no shame in that. And everybody knows that. And I want you to be okay with that. So try something else, pick up a different strategy, and let's give it a try. And let's work on that stress and get rid of it altogether. Okay. Don't forget to share your stories so we can create this community of collaboration so we can help each other out. In our next episode, we will dive into building unshakable confidence, how to become the confident you in the face of challenges. So do not forget to subscribe and set a reminder so you can continue receiving these episodes. Remember, it's on the second and third Sunday of each month. And remember, resilience, it's not about avoiding stress. It's about learning how to into transform it into strength and work through your challenges through it. You've got this.